tradition will continue to flourish in Bhutan. Lupin is saying that now he is going to talk about taking refuge in Könchusum, which means the Buddha, Dharma, and the Sangha, and about developing a positive mind, or the correct thought, or the bodhicitta mind. But before he starts, Lupin is saying that he would like to clarify the teaching on the act of taking refuge is basically for beginners. It is not for learned Rinpoches or serious practitioners like many of you, but it is for beginners who don't understand much about Buddhism. He's saying that Lupin is saying that it is for people like himself who are learners and not for learned Rinpoches or serious practitioners. He said that therefore, this topic on taking refuge may not be of much interest or maybe of low standard, since almost all of you here are serious Buddhist practitioners.
차도 우승기전 지킨 mention 충대 많이 받아보고 당신 인sel라 이 인지미지 규비 출신이 유나 뒤집에 쳐봐도 내면 탑잡아 라지진 있네 저리 능저지 수가 인세 수경인데 좀세 들었던 인세 수기.
Lupin is saying that if you go by the merits of taking refuge in terms of size, he's saying that if you think the benefit of the merit of the taking refuge in Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha is small, maybe it is perhaps even smaller than a rice grain. But on the other side, its benefits can also be bigger than the biggest of mountains. He's saying that for all practitioners, from beginners who only know how to say Baza Guru or Om Mani Padme Hum, to the most serious practitioners, it is important to understand about taking refuge in the three precious jewels, that's the Buddha, Dharma, and the Sangha, and developing the bodhicitta mind, as well as about dedicating the merits of your virtuous actions. So that is why Lupin is saying that is why he would like to talk a little on taking refuge and developing the bodhicitta mind.
나랑 넘버서 사람과 만나 다투게 발라 컴숨 걸어와이 동네때나 양나야도 코드나 맛도 전에 타이 탑때는 맛좀 라간이 데도숨라게 라간이 데도숨라게 단 상기기 거봐 탑차와지 있나 라든도 코와 때는 흠먹어 봐 습지기 전로 되는 맛도 뭐라고 때는 못 먹어 봐이 인데기 가랑도 코와를 주의 탑때네 상계 최단긴도 숨라 잡수 쏘네 담배 출라 주범 마도 뒷면비 코안에 주의 탑 셴바시 가나 요만이 얘네 된데 니 저기 가시 부시지 말아 넘버 솔라 좀세 주게면 뒤에 있으시니.
Lobin is saying that all of us gathered here today have been wandering in this world of suffering, in the samsara. All of us have been wandering, sometimes being born in the lower realms, maybe sometimes as animals, sometimes in the higher realms as human beings, but none of us have attained Buddhahood. So to attain Buddhahood, the only way is to take refuge. The only way to attain Buddhahood is to take refuge in the three precious jewels, that's the Buddha, Dharma, and the Sangha. Lupin is saying that you can go ahead with having tea, but spare your ears to the teaching, because we started late, so we'll have to go ahead with the teaching. Now, talking about taking refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, Lupin is saying that if you take refuge in worldly deities such as Lawangchu or Thangpa, instead of the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, you cannot be elevated or released from the world of suffering. He says that the only way to be released or elevated from the world of suffering is to attain Buddhahood, and that is by taking refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, and the Sangha.
세도 감볼라 초기 든든지 슈바마토 딩엄만에 차라서 키스치와 임베 제 잘만 보수고면 이나야 교수 숨생한들라 제 간리께 있나 간리초도 줘봐 있나시 세세 순나 교수생한테 나랑도 제때나 때내만 토받들라 교수생한테 제 간리께 있는 생각은 제때나 노버는 뭐지 교대 중앙진이 뭐라도 엄마 준비하고 수능비 소 성비 잡지 마서봐 노버디 얘기 말아 전제제 경바인 배트나세 교수 숨 상계 주다긴데 숨데 뭐잖아 처럼만 만나서 손이게 줘봐 아버지지 마서봐 잘해나봐 담봐 미르제 뭐지 토봐야 같이 편안한 맛이 캔 물론 뭐지 톱나야 최등기 일단 깨막기기 켜봐 가져이나 편하게 킨 최등기 일단 깨나야 나랑도 최고로 마시나 최다 간사 소소에 처럼 봐 잘할수도 킨세치 대니 견생한테 간지시 겸바이나 남나 나랑도 겸하게 손는데 소 자신보지 마사바다 다 대상 다 공투셔봐지도 최다 상계 인데도 수제와 깔락하버려 대인네 대견을 돼. 대 초생한테 관심이나 노부 탐지게 나네 노부는 뭐지 이제 분좀 생한테 나랑도 선바 강요 받을 루트네 노부 나네 고 초도 주바 인세 주기 배진낭세 교정 생한테 참바 참조 완출라 소바 대 나갑기 되와 첨벌에 새 투비기 교정들 마음보 요거래 옛날 지난해 초도 주바지 상계 초다기는 좀 인세 주거든요. 코나 접수 쏘는 나라도 넘말로나 세질 류질 상계기 고바도비 이제 자신뭐 연결해 괜히 겸바 초도 주바지 인세 주거면 인세 주니.
Lupin is saying that now he is going to talk about why Kenchusum, the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha is called the three rare and precious jewels. He's saying that it is called the three rare and precious jewels because the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha is like the all-fulfilling jewel. Unless one is bestowed with the best of merits, no one can possess this jewel. It is the rarest among the rare. But Lupin is saying, but if by your own virtuous acts and merits, if you can possess the all-fulfilling jewel, it will grant all your wishes true. Such is the blessing and merit of taking refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. Drukpa was saying that maybe everybody knows how difficult it is to get this human form. And even if you get this human form, you know how difficult it is to come into contact with Buddhist practitioners. To be practicing Buddhism is, even if you have the human form, you may not be blessed enough to be able to practice the Buddhist form. Even if you have the fortune to be practicing the Buddhist tradition, maybe you may not meet with a good Lama or something, so you know how difficult it is. So once you have this human form, once you have got this human form, it is important, he's saying, that to take refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, to use your human life that you have for a meaningful purpose. He was saying that instead of taking refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, as he said earlier, if you take refuge in the worldly deities, like the Latsangpa or Hawangchuk, then these would not help you to be lifted from samsara, will not help you to be free from the sufferings of this world. It is only through taking refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, and the Sangha.
상기기 고바토베 저와키네 감보 출루수나바데 민코네 까디체세 수구이 얘네 아 출루수바 땅치기 메토바 타나 나는도도 kinsosol라 잡수 송나니 차례가 가지 kinsosol라 잡수 도지다 마가 존나 마도 때는 맞제바 다 뒤때리는 zon데 상기기 고바 마토 챙겨놓고 니 kinsosol비 저월 지나면 메다 남비 투진
Robin is saying that he would like to thank everyone for getting into practicing Buddhism with the motivation that you will lead your life with a meaningful purpose and to ultimately attain Buddhahood, which is the ultimate symbol of peace and happiness.
아마다 막힘반이 되나 수양명 이나야 미게 코네 시도 강볼라 투기 전서다 버치소나 단 점도 생각되나 칸이요래 지든비 점도 생각하시다 지든에 대비 점도 생각하시 칸이요래 지킨기 킨세체 간 인야 투기 점바 말해봐 나네 지든비 점도들라 뜨는 말도 하시다 아 지든에 대비 점도들라 뜨는 도 하시 투든 수버 전화는 미세 들러라 고와 들러주디 상기게 고바 메토바 빼미세 바지 용상바 인세수니 제템비 접도 세한디 하디 참바 참주 와출라소바 지마제 나라기 유다 지달라소바다 지솔로 접춘나데 코나야 고알레 마타와 이제 풍기 나랑도 고알레 타이 탑 지축이 말에 인제 지네 제템비 접도라 마주바
Lubin is saying that the act of taking refuge is of two types. One is taking refuge in worldly affairs. If I may give an example, taking refuge in worldly affairs like praying to pass in an exam, or praying to travel safely, or praying for the success of a business venture. This act of taking refuge is basically concentrated in doing good and being happy and successful in this life. The other one is taking refuge in matters beyond worldly affairs, to take refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, and the Sangha, for us and for everyone to be released from the world of suffering and attain Buddhahood. And he is saying that if you do it with the genuine motivation, it is possible that you attain Buddhahood even in one life. But he is saying that if you take refuge in the worldly deities, like as I said before, Hawangchu or Latsangpa, they themselves are not free from suffering. They themselves have not attained Buddhahood. So it is not possible that these worldly deities, worldly gods can free you from the sufferings of the world. So therefore, you have to take refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, and that is the only authentic and credible way to attaining Buddhahood.
상계 초단기 도스나 접수 도나 잡고 톱자디 니처랑게 따부치라 뭐 산나디 되게 말해 가인세나 제 남기 때좀쯤마도 체디니라 상계기 고바도 탑 말해 나디 인지 맺지 담바 점는데 지들레 대비 좀도 상계 초단기도 숨도 주교반마세 톱자기 잡거든요 넘게 상계기 고바 호바치 얘네 님뭐 맞겠나 된다 가좀만 주지게 되게 말해 나한테 이제 말하면서 접수 좋아들라 뒤일이 생기 잡아 니요 그래 태천단 팀에서 해야지 뒤경기 캐스체 태천기 접수 좋아의 뒤에는 뒤들이는 손데 다 나고 고도 수바전도 이 상계기 고파 맞춰지 니 그쪽은 저원은 미천 선바디 뒤일이 있어 태천기 심게티 다이 통화된 거랑도 니네게 소중나시 상님만 마사게 봐도 랭킨 안난 지수초에 봐도 나랑게 미세 감보 좀좀 마도 상계기 고파 맞춰 추주기 노상 땅킨 매바데 뒤일이出身이 대 나네 다 뒤 통화들라 맞음바 이 리소 상계기 고파 토고 놈들라 네 주제지고 싶으니
Lopin was saying that it is best to take refuge in matters beyond worldly affairs, to take refuge in the Buddha, Dharma and Sangha, and work with motivation single-mindedly towards attaining Buddhahood. He is saying that depending on the length or duration of taking refuge, again the act of taking refuge is of two types. Among the two, the best way or the longer way, the longer one or the best way is taking refuge that starting from today onwards, until I myself attain Buddhahood, I take refuge in the Buddha, Dharma and the Sangha. That is the best way of taking refuge. And the other one, which is shorter, is that I take refuge in the Buddha, Dharma and Sangha in this life only. So this is the lesser way of taking refuge. But Lupin is requesting that if you take refuge, it is best that you take refuge which is the longer way, longer one, like from starting from here onwards, from today onwards, I take refuge in the Buddha, Dharma and Sangha until and unless I attain Buddhahood. That is the best way.
상계 초단기도 술라 접수 송산에 지초바다 맞춰봐 만보 전단에 조사기 말에 간데세나 근초라 접수 송네 만보 숫자 제고바유 출라 접수 송네 만보유 긴달라 대다다보니 단 대리 인보 뒤나 상계라 접수 송네 지tember 하잖아 참면서와지 나 점면서와지 인지미지 두가 농주바니 아 지tember 하세야데 나라도 보고다 내좀마다 유하 유진 된다마도 도로 추초스마스만 이 두가 농주바니 다 대다다보 출라 접수 송산네 전라 느심 창와다 느비심 교와라서 봐 라림 멤버라 당와라서 봐 인 진네 전라 느비심 딴데만 상와지 지교바니 출라 접수 손에 전라 세 심판세가 되지 다긴들라 접수 손에 나랑도 따와 맞지 봐 출라 로다교에 조원이 인도마세 추기 자와다 맞지 봐 미디어를 수킨 탐제다 넘북제 봐 뜬는면은 제주서 숨을 잡아서 송산에 인지민지 다 차시차와 만보 유나야 대만보 시주기 말에 조치소지 된다라래 이 인지민지 맞잖아 교수 숨게 잡아서 송산에 되게 인지민지 숨접지 내가 전부 인쇄 수준이
Lobin is saying that once you take refuge in the Buddha, Dharma and the Sangha, once you take refuge, then there are certain rules and don'ts that you may have to follow. He was saying that once you take refuge in the Buddha, you cannot worship or bow down to worldly deities like, as I said before, Lawangchu or Lathangpa. You cannot bow down or worship these deities. Then secondly, once you take refuge in the Dharma, Robin is saying that you should not breed ill feelings, think negative about others, or commit negative actions towards others. He says that when you take refuge in the Dharma, you cannot do that. And thirdly, once you take refuge in the Sangha, Robin is saying that you should not befriend people, you should not be friends with people like butchers, people who kill animals, or people like thieves, or people who blemish the Buddha Dharma, who try to destroy the Buddha Dharma. You should avoid them. You cannot be friends with them. Lopin is saying that there are maybe many do's and don'ts, and maybe difficult for all of us to understand. But these are some of the most basic do's and don'ts or rules that you may have to abide by once you take refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, and the Sangha. Lopin is saying that whatever we are today, for example, whether we are rich or poor or happy, it's all because of our past deeds. So therefore, to be released from these worldly sufferings, it is important to take refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. And he was just now talking about the benefits, the merits of taking refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, and the Sangha, about why we should take refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, and the Sangha. Lopin was saying that to sum it up all, the benefit of reciting the refuge vow, which is, Lopin didn't mention, but the refuge vow is, if you recite the refuge vow, Lama Lachap Sucho, Sangha Lachap Sucha, that the refuge vow, reciting just once is more beneficial and meritorious than offering tons of jewels and precious jewels to the Buddha. In other words, he was saying that if you fill the whole world with jewels and offer it to the Buddha, that is a very meritorious act. But the merit of reciting just one verse of the refuge vow is even more meritorious than that. I've been saying that this is all he has to say about taking refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, and the Sangha.
simke sin chawadine ngaranzo lugi laga mare ngagi laga mare simke laga re di ngaranzo samro yabosu tonna di kala khabura amyo kani sena lungagi chawad tenne me bate da lungagi chawashi yenade yanan lugi machoba dashi yanan nasagi donga dashi yanan 세공기 꼼바다시 중나디 룽가기 저와 미초바시로 데다라데 다 심게들라 룽가기 저와 때니 교주 말에 간인세나 나랑도 셈해보지 다단 천천히 나랑도 체력과 투만 몇번에 다 중계 바로 남덕이 좋아 세몇바시 바도 저도 되게 완도도 내 말에는 나랑도 니지쳐도 바도 그래 니지쳐도 소원 그래 진짜 바도 된 없던데 바도 수도 된 없던데 수도네 심지 나한테 제일 맞는데 심게 해야 돼 깔락하고래 이나 나랑도 전부 하버스 됐네 영화기 저와 가면 심 해보잖아 simply keep Masubadi, then the young Maris.
Lubin is saying that now he is going to talk about Semke. Semke, which means the thought or the process of thinking, or in a, how do you say, the developing the bodhicitta mind. He was saying that the Semke has only to do with the mind and nothing to do with the body or the speech. He was saying that if you have to do something with your body or hands, or if you have to speak, you can probably do so until you are tired. But in the mind, there are thousands of thoughts going on. And he said that if you stay calm and control your mind, you can probably control what you're thinking in the mind. He said that the Semke is basically about developing the correct thought process, developing a thought which is helpful to others.
Semke is Shunataya, Garanzo, Sembe, Semmakeba, Garanzo, Gohindera, Kiwadela, Semke Yabomara. Kanisana, Semke Nimo Womadera, Zempingi Sim. Chuma Maimbasim Mato, Zengi simply get us to Sumare. As Zimping Simki Anderson, Maranto, Chadang, Musumla Soba, Ra Gabudela, simply Yabuchitan, Dawadela, simply Ambassadors and the Tidig Maris, Sui. Kains and simply Sayade, Zimping, Simchuma Maimbachi, Kikubadela, simply Second Mato, Maranto, no sometime della, simply so. Kojumaras should be. The Zimping is Sim Sayadina, Marandu, Chuha Jabata, Nase, Soya did Papa, Chumaki simply should be. Chuma Maimbe simply should be. Ni Jibushi, Tela, Marandu, Chadang, Gado, Tendesa Kayam, Horangi, Dungedela, Ni Sapochi, Chuma Maimbe simply Chukuni, Kitumadi, simply Yabore. That didn't my Rana Gawashi and the Chimburu, I did need to say some. Rana Dawashi and that doing a Chimbu, you shall think the Tecumara said, do not then the Tigamaras should be. That simply Simidala, the Kontoshubai, Narangi, Nosatama, Ambassador, Ziniji, YouTube, simply Zero, Pembi, Chuma, Maimbi, Chuma, Santa. Chuka Jaba Kayama Mangana Hunera, Niji, Chimbochi Kiki do, Annulo, the simple Sashani. Page Shabatin, Simki Jondi, Maranto, Umane, the Simki Zamboti, Laladiro, Kumsa Yon, Mambosh and Maranto, Namto Yon Autosone, Sim Zangin Jima, Sunde, Zambo Adinima, Maso Dogere. Kayasana, Pechisana, in Kawachingi Jonso, Kadambi Kishi, Ben Sayadi, Simki
Sorry, I had to cut short because it's difficult for me to understand as well. Lubin was saying that Semke, the thought process is basically not to think good of yourself, not to be selfish, but to think good for the others, to think of the benefit and well-being of the others. Lubin is saying that Semke could basically be of two types. One is the thought process that comes from deep within, as a naturally from within your heart, and the other one is artificial, maybe depending upon the situation. But he's saying that the concept of Semke, or the developing the bodhicitta mind, is to develop a mindset whereby you have a mindset of helping others for the benefit of others and not for yourself. And now Lubin is going to give an example of how he's saying that there's this one called natural thought, which comes from deep within, and there's this one called artificial, maybe made up. So he's saying maybe for the learned, all the learned ones, it's easy to have genuine thought, good thought for others. But for us, lay people, it is important to develop the artificial thought so that we get used to being helpful, we get used to being polite, and he is going to stress on that by giving an example through a short story. Lopen just said that right from the beginning, very beginning of when you start practicing Buddhism, it would be difficult to control your mind and think good for the others. So it is important to practice to control your mind. And he just told a story about how you can control your mind. He said that once there was a hermit called Kadambe Geshe Ben. So he was trying to control his mind. To do that, what he did was he took 3 small bags, and then in one bag he put some black pebbles, black small stones, pebbles, and in the other bag he put an equal number of white pebbles, and the third small bag he kept in front of himself. And then he sat there trying to control his mind, to see what was coming into his mind. And then whenever a negative thought came into his mind, he took out a black pebble out of one bag and put it into the third bag. Whenever a good thought came in his mind, he took a white pebble out of the other bag and put it in the third bag again. So he did this for the whole day. And at the end of the day, when he opened the bag, he was disappointed. There were hardly any white pebbles. It was almost full of black pebbles. So he got disappointed, and he said to himself, "No, you do not deserve your tea." So he put aside his tea and go to sleep as a disappointed man. So the next day he tries again, and then days turned to weeks and weeks to months. And then ultimately he saw that the number of white pebbles in the third bag was increasing. Day after day it was increasing. And ultimately, finally, the third bag was full of white pebbles almost all the time. It was full of white pebbles. That was when he was able to control his mind. So we were saying that, therefore, it is important for us to practice to control the mind. It is not possible that we have this positive mindset right from the beginning, but we have to get used to it through practice.
도로 코란도 년전기 또 눈에도 타지 세사나 배점마시 주는 로코란기 랜 년바시 주지 다로냐 알아 눈에 요주래 현재 말해 봐다 출라미 봤습니다 맞잖아 담배 출라 심기 동고기 말해 심지 간보 해마 눈에도 제사는 대랑 삼아서 봐다 눈에도 제사는 로데 대답이 눈에 미천에 탑도 타바도 톱지 캠비 고파 토비게 남 양타바시 땡고게래 안 될라 출라미도 심기 생기게
Levin just said that, again, Semke is of two types. He said that one is when you just think, the thought that you are going to do something for the benefit of all sentient beings. For example, the thought that you are going to go on a pilgrimage, maybe to Lhasa or something. That is just a thought, that is one. And another one is when you do it physically. Like for instance, you not only think that you are going to benefit all sentient beings, but to actually do it for the help of all sentient beings. Like if someone is in hunger, maybe you can give food once, but after that, again he would go hungry. Or similarly, if you help someone for some time now, then maybe he would commit sin and then again have the suffering again. So therefore, the other thought process is, the bodhicitta mind is to help that being, he or she, to be elevated from samsara, to attain Buddhahood, to be totally devoid of any sufferings. That is the other Semke out of the two.
Semke thangtela number New York, Kayansina, maybe Semke Sayachida, Drukpa Semke Sayashi, maybe Semke Sayaji, Pedamashisana. Ni talo hasachi togo samba yogede memba yin shugi ta jubbe singke sene kanti sene samna ta dinni gan doro togo samna to setene derine gotu de dogadela jubbe singke sene juba sigi pe denna se ngaran jota chebe zun sa ne simche tumchela ni ji chimbo jike simche ge tunchu dubo no ambo no sa tantune membe singke du chare 다 팀멤버 심비든 나랑도 계산세나 성공통키지 마도 저와 두빈는 다 주바 심비든 인지 민지 당가 십제 탑제 코알레드 탑제 인지 민지 두브라두고 전제 장난 무송삼네 무슨도 심비기 좀 취재라서 봐 제가 주부가래 때 주바 심기 때 심비 남만이 보디 민주니 세라비 넘바 심비도 주바 심비세라비 때 장난 전자좀 마도 나랑도 엄마 성론 마도 나팀 주발로 떴는 중 담보 섬로 동천데 멤버 심기 되는 유수 주현데 주바 심기 전자시 돌아가고 있으시네.
As I said earlier, Lubin was talking about the two Semkes. One is member Semke and one is Drukpa Semke. Lubin was saying that member Semke is only to do with the mind, the thought. The thought that you are going to help all sentient beings or help somebody, that's also a virtuous act. And the other is when the Drukpa Semke, which is actually you do it. But Lopin was saying that these member Semke and Drukpa Semke, in fact, has to go together. Because first, the thought has to come in your mind, and then you do it. So Lopin was saying that these two has to come together.
ngaranzo simki jena da simki jen kanre che jena ya ngge data position da khonje ngala jamman ngala gabu yo somba ji yana ngi ji khola data bi no somre jim che ta ma khonge ngala jo da kyo da tende se jyo no ngi somba tene ke du no yana ngaranzo sem jambore se jingi chitu chaba yo somba tene ke ni chidu tabde tobdola so re number 10 member yinji michi samba dinara ni ji sutaba ji khora ni ji gi yutela ke gona ma to lenta namela tale mare simply de gi go go tane mare ta thi simply thi re den simply pin 가셨다나 ya ngaranzo senda senlo thana amala choba zamboji pina amadi ngala thunje bo yo samba ya nan tinda da bo sura ya bo se na samba tobdola ro tene 마키바치 제거래. 근데 지난데 렌탄나 남mel라려와지 점바 또라야 점바 야타부도기 말해. 심기지 끼나야 심기 야타부도기 말해. 근데 제 툴라사네 코란로 핀베 셈마 찍고마도 나랑들어 라라 대답이게 덤자 년자 노로노 찔러서 토백이 채도 심기 잠보시 끼나자 점바시 따나 자 추기 저와 같이 되나야 나라로 렌제저와 유난히 이게 바 심장부터 저기 말해 전제치 툴라사나
Lubin was saying that when you develop the positive thought, or when you say something good about the others, or when you do something good for the others, you should not expect anything in return. You should not think good of the others or do something for the others, expecting that you would get something in return, expecting that you would get some gifts, or that somebody might praise you, or that you would become popular. That should not be the motivation. Lubin was saying that the motivation of doing something good or thinking good should be pure and should not expect anything in return. If you do that, then if you expect something in return for your good gesture, probably that is not as virtuous as it is.
다 던데시기 심기기 좀 던데시기 시사기래라. 다 대들라 나랑도 오늘 슈바진도 심기다 이나다 좀더 이나다 다 감보 나랑저기 심기 디나라 상결라 접수 쏘나야 란치 bom마인 바 심지 틈지 니 기저와 들렸던 게 상기기 고고 톱지고 있는데 자축이 심세한데라 란치 bom마인 바 심지 틈절라 당견데라 마또 란치 심결라 자축 심결서 저기 말해라 다 디자도와 저와 강하다 강시 지나야 랑 간나 심지 제 마가와드서 나라따부지 가요 삼바 기술지 두번째 주는 건 두번따부 심지 셈바야 두기도 근데 난 두번에 타와서도 심지 콘도 다 주는데 저 삼바지 삼바지 끼나데 심게 야보래 대답이 심게 좀 많이 봐 삼바지 끼좀 난데 다디 표현시 순한데 한번 맞잖아 남카기로 치미 끊기 신세체 남카기 가르쳐봐 사주기 가르쳐서 심지기 첩 심지기 가르쳐서 레더니 뭐죠 레더니 뭐 유천천에 틈째 중에래 다 된다기 중에 틈째 주고 시주는 선바지 지나네 심지기 체열에 표현에 체면버려 간에서나 심지 컴니 체면을 편리 된데 되다고 너버지 지나야 너가 중에 체면버 중에래 편바지 지나야 편바 체면버 중에래 간에서나 심지기 전화 마선이 되게 대 진다시 중계래 대 편에 들어 와 중나 대 나랑도 대라합이 출시 영어 선반면도 다 들이 얘기 수바세로 대가지래 다 캠바스 대가지면은 출시부 장소에 책임면도 간지 인다서 투고 있는 것이 있어서 그래 이건 봐야만 나서 그래 나랑게 코네 데레드나 나라 약간 소소라다 데레 취디 소소라 간보 좀남들로 내치 주수가이 간에서나 맞지 불렀다나 니 다고네 달로네 로 뒤지 좀도 그래 데리기 로고들로만큼 봐 추번 mambo 취도 소소네 약간 소소네 용매다 데르마도지 때는 체마소 두체는 뭐지 친 추번 좀 봐도 생각수 되는 제만 루칭이 차로에 빛나던 감보 데르마도지 제만 지켜와서 뭐래서 나도 거 치매가 돕기 위해서 수기 나한테도 주 데르는 zonte 나랑 취지 용계 가톨레 주다 넘버 차람나 차랍게 봐도 나랑 좀 감보 밴드 주비 취기들 수대 팔람마 찌다 막기 허르찌기 나도 천년 뒤디긴 담보 란tin 죽고도 상기기 고바 도바치체 얘네 진짜 죽고 넘만이기 걸려 컴승 쓸때 대다 톰체 한번 말려봐 맛집에 톰체 캠도 고바 당게 뒤 담마 죽이 봐도 내가 치도 넘버스 진놈에 컴마 좋아시 진넘버스 가도네 토디 지나보시 대다 보시나 이제 전부 요거래 나라도 같은 애 대가라니
Sorry. Now Lupin was talking about the Lopin was saying that when you take refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, and the Sangha, or when you develop the bodhicitta mind, you should not just think of yourself, but you should think of all sentient beings. He was talking about the benefit of developing the bodhicitta mind, or having a positive thought process. And he said that there's no limit to how much positive thought you can exercise. Lopin was saying that there's no limit to positive thoughts you can exercise. And on the contrary, there's also no limits to how much negative thoughts will come into your mind. Lopin is saying that there are limitless numbers of animals and sentient beings in this world. As far as the world, there's limitless numbers of sentient beings. And so when you think good of all these sentient beings, the merit is going to be as limitless as the number of sentient beings there are in this world. Lopin was also saying that before he came to this Annual Drukpa Council, he had only heard of His Holiness, but now he feels very fortunate that he has met His Holiness and also have been blessed after by the relic which has been displayed here at the Annual Drukpa Council. And he said that now he is 71 years old, and he would like to wish everyone that we remain as Dharma brothers and sisters, remain together as Dharma brothers and sisters until all of us attain Buddhahood. This is his prayer.
Tendechi chungna, teri ngaranzu nyingi kanshi kushiji kela tuki tensu tabu shu. Ki namba zu dine pa te tu mayimba tensu ta dimba chi jesha. Ta di nyingi shuba ta kiki jeba di nina dombe gyawa te cheta kanshi inaya di chuja su midroyi chido. Ngaranzu jitin jambi yangda pacho kyudo zambo la soba nambi. Gyawa cheta samche chibu, simchi ki tunu, yuwa jitawa jita, nga cheto kambe, tudim hichibe na wara sho se shuki.
Lopin is saying that firstly, he's saying that after giving his teaching, he has also gained some merits from whatever he has taught, from whatever he knew. And then, secondly, many of you might already have known about what Lopin taught today, but you still bore with him with patience, and that is also a source of merit. So he was saying that together, like Pachukuntu Zangpo and Jitsun Jampeyang, who dedicated almost all the merits that they performed, he would also like to dedicate the merits, our common merits, for the benefit of all sentient beings.
Nibe dana bamje ze gega na je balon drukpa ni sibe sole ndo de wara jo.
Tamilum jaya mina. Milam jaya mina. 탐전에 라주시 된다 까지시 모두라
Choju simjaga na jinye ba de da na do ne me de wa jo ro yun ji ji ye ju nam ne tuen ba ju je re wan ro chan ju ju ba da ne na ju je ro gyun do ye wa den ba jo se ra gyun do se be ye wa na ta do da ne ra do ju ye wa gyun ye je zo lo je de sam bo je ba yo so so ji se chen je ba tin ne yang da ba da do ma ne me je wa le ge na lu da ji Tribum Dada Mege Namda, Ro Yunye Ranam Jizamba, Tamji Gedun Da Yujendo, Dishem Parishil Narabzinde, Janjo Zemena, Divana Divaju. Jujin Ro Namzoya, Jizem Mojime Javaji, Nida Namanamami, Shinji Yanda Shona Jizamba, Ingezo Dunya, Rabdo Jivaji, Devandala Roa, Anju Jiva Yonso Zoji, Simjenda Yejuna Devojo, Zambo Jiva Dane Rabnije, Mon Jiva Gunjo Jivarajo, Naji Juna Sumbore Kanjiba, Chubanda Namilam Jidoji, Dalalimbe, Divin Jubana, Sambo Jivarado Jivanam, Didana Yandado Jivarjo, Didana Yenamia Imejo, Sanji Saji Kuri, Mozunda Naye Yevela, Mao Jeva Gunumi Yewa, Didana Yanjova Jajri, Yewa Namji Nabi Juzinji, Janju Jeva Kundona. Sambo Jeva Nama Jaya, Mao Jeva Gendo Jevaraja, Siva Namje Tuya Gurana, Sunam Ishe Tanimi, Abda Jera Tenze Namdana, Yundi Giri Mise Judojo, Duji Dena Dunye Shinamde, Jine Sanye Meya Sanye, Sanye Sanye Yuna Jubana, Tina Juba Jujin Doraji, Nedra Mali Tamji Josum Ya, Chasum. Yoso Shiva Mi Sinje Gai Dida Giji Jila Na Yeda Dado Dida Gini Jila Yuma Jilve Namdan Aya Yoso Na Yishinje Bai Dida Duje Dindo Nyambalo Dedra Mali Shonam Damjedo Yawa Na Jishinam Aya Maji Shikdi Rima Na Janjo Rima Sanja Kolo Guru Nyanye Deba Ramduji Yomo Jinje Jando Daje Zudru Namna Kune Gui Tibe Namna Kundo Yindi Chibe Namna Kune Jive Sunam Dona Chawa Mewa Yuri Jino Shara Namna Tinsi Dona Ji Chanju Dona Yandari Liye Dona Yoso Daji Ji Nyamo Dona Yundo Jumbraji Duye Dona Nome Raji Sambo Jugo Domnezo Ina Yazo Namra Daji Jiva Jaso Nambra Daji Melam Jaso Yoso Zobaji Sanje Jaso Rado Juji Yeva Jaso Miki Jubraji Ayan Jaso Shikwe Yewayi Janju Juve Melaji Sambo Juve Janju Sanje Duyen Daji Maluzo Yewa Yuji Sije Dumba Ganji Mini Gudu Saji Jeva Nina Sumba Juve Yewa Nina Namjeru Luda Mata Ija Namdaji Chuba Namdaji Nayandamba Moa Sambu Cheba Jindrawa Dira Najan Dita Sumba Kune Yewe Sambu Chubi Jiri Jambi Kine Melam Chubarji Mao Jewa Kundo Miye Wara Di Chawa Murizu Chuba Dani Siye Manjurji Yundi Nija Siso Mebaju Chuba Seme Palani Namje Dardo Jume Jizamba Simje Malu Dayan Dijinde Jizamle Da Nyumon Darjoba Daye Melam Dayan Dizu Aya Joju Shina Daye Bae Rinje Yede Yawa Namlalu Ladami Indi Jonamja Zinge Dunye Yawa Anje Moe Yabu Nidune Janju Joji Jizo Ramije Rinje Samyan Deva Yawa Na Sonam Dame Jodondi Anje Sanju Melam Dida Be Dini Nyazo Namje Mawajo Dini Jobo Nyeba Mabaye Nawa Taye Dida Nyeba Ramnyin Dewa So Mezi Deya Didra Lewa Kundo Sambo Deya Jindawa Dida Rima Medodi Samyama Dashin Divana Ekani Ishidani Sudasinamna Erida Kano Namna Nimajo Dudamuni Mambu Nime Jike Sambo Kuna Javajo Janjo Shava Joshin Sonye Sinje Peshin Didun Janjo Sanje Kuloira Dudam Jida Javanami Ayal Sambo Shive Melamni Chawa Dani Dunam Lowai Namba Mimba Sanje Janjo Jurasi Jambi Jinraki Jimbawanda Kundo Sambo Nian Dijin Deda Kunye Jeson Dalamjin Yawan Deda Damjir Duzo Shive Yawan Damjiji Ngowa Kana Shodo Nawani Dayin Ye Zawan Niganya Sambo Jujirabdung Dani Shive Duji Jubana Riba Damje Dani Jizir Ngozum Nawan Dayin Didung Nian Dewa Jinji Shindir Dirzone Nelam Dinaja Tamjim Malu Mondo Jubajo Dilamalu Daji Yozoka Nine Jizim Yin was a Jingawati Pemona Bashindo Zilidi Nawada Yin Guzumdo London Bayan Bayi Dinida Yelonde Ramune Chuba Mamo Jawa Chajayi Loye Doji Jojo Namzoya Simjan Namabemam Sambo Jive Mulam Jumbai Jawa Jose Tayi Jizama Dinendo Mulam Javanam Kiji Jike Namjiju Kaya Sambo Jiva Dinyube Sunam Daya Tamba Kandobi Mulam Jiva Dida Jojizo Dayendo Akula Meji Jundo Sambo Jimbe Jundu Nyasonya Namalu Dombra Sajini Yabaju Jena Jijo Dijin Sambo Java Dije Sadokne Kune Kundu Sambo Rejo Sancho Rimbo Magi Bana Keva Nyamba Meva Yabone Gondo Bewa Kyapara Tamle Yambe Kyapam Siddhan Tude Chasu Tiki Nyambo Pende Drupa Tuje Temba Tashin Geju